Hi, I'm Bethany Hardy, and I'm the director of the Counseling Center at Burke Community Church. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Virginia and New Hampshire, and I'm also a mom, so I'm here to answer some questions that you have about raising godly children. The first question is, what foundational habits do you recommend implementing for preschoolers with the goal of raising up godly children? I think the key for this one is doing what you would do for yourself to have a godly faith, to have that relationship with God that you're wanting. You just do that with your kids as well. So that would mean going to church, bringing them to different church events like VBS, summer camps at church, that sort of thing. Also implementing reading the Bible, praying at mealtimes, praying before bed, that sort of thing. And so basically making sure that just it's implemented in their daily life as you go through the course of the day. The second question is, when should you start to teach your kids to memorize scripture? So the age that kids memorize the most is age 2 to 7. So that means you should be starting by 1.5. So they can retain a lot of information, and that's when their brains are really good at memorization. That's why classical education, that's kind of the emphasis behind classical education, because those are the years where they are able to memorize. So with classical education, they're just hounding the kids with memorization because those are the ages that they can retain the memorization. So start teaching them right before they're turning 2 and just having them memorize different scriptures. The third question is, how should you teach them to memorize scripture, which is kind of a follow-up to that one. So I would say be creative. You can do it. I know at the church they have, at least in my son's preschool class, they send them home magnets with scriptures on them, and we just stick it right on our fridge, and then my son will go over and pick it off the fridge, and then we'll kind of read it together. I'll have him repeat it, and surprisingly, he memorizes them quicker than I do. So that age group is just really good at memorizing. So be creative, however it works in your home, having it on Post-it notes, having it wherever is the most beneficial. Songs, books, those would be some good ways. So that kind of goes into the next question, which is, how should they learn new verses? I mean, that's kind of the same question, where they just look up different scriptures. There's a lot of books out there for little kids that are written by Christian authors, and so at the back of the book they'll have different scripture verses or throughout the book, and so that's a good way to get them to learn new verses, because as they're reading their favorite book, they also get to implement that scripture verse as well. Next question is, what Bibles do you recommend for preschoolers? Honestly, I have not found one that I like. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I've found that a lot of the toddler Bibles are very, maybe not very, but they can be inaccurate in how they present it, because they're trying to present the information in a way that kids will understand. So I don't always like the preschool Bibles, so I usually add my own words to them. So I don't really have a good one here for this question, because I have been searching for a good preschool Bible, and I have yet to find one that I like. So I've just used ones that I've gotten on Amazon, and I will use them, add my own stuff to them, and it still is getting the message across, even though it's maybe not the perfect Bible. So I don't know if there's necessarily the best Bible, but as long as you're implementing reading the Bible, I think that is a good habit. All right, the next question is, how do you implement reading the Bible with your preschooler? So I incorporate it just with all their other reading. So we read probably 10 to 15 books every day at my house. They read before bed, we read before nap, and then they are allowed to read on their own before bed as well. So just along with their other books or the Bible, and they always get to pick which books they want to bring in their bed or which books they want to read, and oftentimes one of the two of them will have the Bible in their bed, so they just incorporate it into their everyday reading. And the last question in this section is, how do you incorporate Jesus into the daily life of your child? I think the main way is through books. We're a very big book family. There's a series called the Adam Raccoon series, and it's written by a Christian author, and it's from a Christian perspective. And the two main characters, the main character is King Aaron, and he's supposed to represent Jesus in the book, and then Adam is supposed to represent us as humans. And so in the book there's lots of lessons throughout the book, and then at the end of every book there's a Bible verse. And if I close the book without reading the Bible verse, my son always says, wait, you missed a part. And so he opens it back up and he points to where the Bible verse is, which it's on like the very, very last page. And so just incorporating that into our books, those are his favorite, both of my kids' favorite series to read, and it incorporates scripture into it. So that's one way. Another way, praying before meals, allowing them to pray. So I rarely pray at meals anymore because both my kids take turns wanting to pray. Praying before you take a long trip. Another thing that we do is we live near a fire station, so anytime we hear a fire truck go by, we always pray for the person wherever the fire truck is going to. And so if I forget, now it's come to the point where if I forget, my kids will be like, Mom, we have to pray. So I think it's really just about integrating Jesus and prayer into your everyday life. And so it just seems so natural for the kids. It's not any big ordeal. It's just kind of a part of their life, and that's what they expect. And if you forget, then they will remind you. Bye.